Atomfall might be one of the weirdest games I have ever played, and I still cannot decide if that's actually a good thing. It's a world where the green hills of the British countryside meet a nuclear nightmare, and somehow it manages to be both breathtakingly beautiful and mechanically special. Today we are diving deep into the exclusion zone to see if this is a misunderstood post-apocalyptic masterpiece or just a 70-year hiking simulator filled with brain-dead NPCs. So whether you're new, battle-scarred, or just here for the drama, welcome. To understand what Atomfall is trying to be, you have to look at its parents. It is developed by Rebellion, the big heads behind the Sniper Elite series, and this game was essentially promised to us as British Fallout, but after 12 months in the wild, that promise feels complicated. I went straight for the survival difficulty, and I noticed you can actually fine-tune the experience with specific sliders, which is a massive win for the accessibility, but for my save, I stuck to the recommended experience. During the first hours, man did I get flashbacks to Stalker, power plant accident, exclusion zone, the hero with no memory, but the more I played, the more it felt like a mix between Chernobyl-lite and Pacific Drive. Minus the base building, all three games felt the same at their core. The exploration felt cool and the world felt attractive. The game features no day-night cycle, and I actually find that to be great because I can just enjoy the views non-stop. However, the anti-aliasing in this game is ass. I tried multiple ways of fixing it, but ain't nobody got time for this crap, and it makes my computer go. Everything is shimmering, shivering, like me after 3 energy drinks, and even with the resolution scale worked up, it was not completely gone. I don't know, maybe I'm the weird one, and most people don't notice it so much, so let me know what you think. But visual bugs aside, I was here for the survival. On this difficulty level, I really felt vulnerable, and it felt like I was dealing the same amount of damage to enemies as they do to me. Other than that, I honestly didn't feel the weight of the game. It was a fairly easy experience in terms of resource availability and the game's economy, despite the game's attempt to intimidate me with the first tough enemies encounters. Right from the beginning, I realized how non-linear this game is. It was all confirmed later when I realized how many people you can side with, because every location, open and enclosed, has multiple entrances and exits. By just going through literally the second landmark, I could skip to the area that I naturally explored only after 10 hours by following the leads. So I guess if you know what you're doing, you could probably finish the game in a couple of hours without any exploits at all, which is a massive flexibility flex. And this is also where the hamster in me took over. Like in any other game with inventory space, you eventually run out of said space. Every major location has those pneumotubes sprinkled around with 100 shared slots for storage, which is a lifesaver because the vendors in this game, they exist, but they feel kind of useless, and I couldn't get rid of the excess stuff. For me, every single trader was not refreshed once, even though every single one of them said that they would restock eventually, and it's kind of weird. Nonetheless, everything they sell can be found in the wilds, and if you, like me, lick every single stone in the game, you will find everything you need. First, when my pockets became full of stuff, not being able to pick up anything anymore felt like it is hindering my exploration, but honestly, I changed my mind later. Having a small inventory was actually relieving. You just filter out what you don't need and leave it be. There is no use for it anyway. I mean, yes, there is a blueprint crafting system, but I crafted maybe 10 items in the whole playthrough. The rest I just found lying around or undug from those secret caches. While exploring, I actually really enjoyed the level of environmental detail here. It is actually insane. You can see exactly where and what people eat, where they sleep, where they shower, and where they go to the toilet. It feels real, and sometimes a bit too real. This level of detail comes with a massive pacing problem, which is scale. Take the Scattermore prison as an example. This place is monstrous. It's clearly well thought out, but it feels like a big field with stones. I spent 30 minutes just running around its corners, flipping every of them stones, finding absolutely nothing of use, not even lore notes, only to have to run through the whole thing again when the story events actually kicked in. And it got me thinking about one game series that actually does it better, Metro series. Those games have the same level of detail when it comes to world building, but in Metro, the locations are actually compressed. In Atomfall, sometimes it feels like they build massive realistic locations first, and they somehow forgot to put the actual game inside of it. Some people might actually enjoy this level of detail, but for me, it's sort of messed up with the pacing, which is slow enough already. Now, when the world design is a flex, the inhabitants are a different story. First of all, I gotta give some credits to the sound designers and voice actors. The NPCs sound like they were pulled straight out of a local pub in Yorkshire. The thick accents and the dry British slang really sells it for me. Plus, not a single time I noticed two NPCs voiced over by the same actor, which is either due to the actors being that good or Rebellion hiring enough people for this task. And normally, I prefer to play or watch movies with subtitles on because my mom says I'm special. But here it is a real necessity, at least for me.
There's something in it for you, no? Not asking you to do out for naught.
What?
But what about the non-chatty NPCs, you ask? What can I say? The enemies here are just brain dead. There are two major problems in this game, and this is the first one: the enemy's AI. These idiot sandwiches rush you harder than Slavs rush B in CS. Or they stand there wondering who killed their mate while actually seeing me do that 5 seconds ago. They will all try to push you through a single ladder, and you could just "This is Sparta" them out of it and deal with the whole patrol without making a single shot. Abusing enemy AI has never felt so easy. At some point, I decided to completely ignore the fights because it felt like an annoyance rather than a challenge. Besides, they also respawn all the time, which is plain bad. I cleared an outpost, and after not more than 30 minutes, this whole location was repopulated. I had the same problem in Sniper Elite 2, where the game sometimes just spawns an army behind your back, and it kicks me out of immersion because the locations are small enough and such crazy respawns are very noticeable. The actual gunplay is decent. This is Rebellion after all, the Sniper Elite DNA is still there, shots have a noticeable impact, and NPC even try to react to you pointing a gun in their face and hide if they brought a knife to a gunfight. The tools for a great gunplay are there, but the enemies are just standing there eating glue once they cannot reach you. And despite this troubled AI, the game has some serious mystery to solve. However, most of the lore comes from notes, which is usually minus in my eyes. Sorry, I played Fallout 76 on release. I don't want to ever read any single note in my life. But holy crap. The first time I stepped into a bunker that had a door trying its best not to look like a Fallout Vault door, it was dark, spooky, and mysterious. You literally felt like no one has been in this bunker for years. My gaming receptors are burned out after 20 years of playing whatever, but even I was fascinated and nervous to step inside the interchange for the first time. It is by far the best bunker I have ever explored in any game. It is monstrous. It has all the secrets and I had a lot of fun running around this maze. Often though, you need to go out to chase other leads to open more doors in said bunker. And speaking of leads, the game features no quests in the traditional sense. It's an old school system. They tell you the stuff you need is taken by Nora, and Nora is out there. You just go and find her. On my difficulty, I didn't get quest markers, and honestly, I didn't even bother tracking any leads either. I was just wandering around the game and seeing where the road takes me. This felt very refreshing compared to go there, collect 8 dog tails, and come back. You just have to be attentive and not lose any quest items or you're messed up. However, this brings us to the major problem number 2, the story outcomes. This is where the game truly feels disconnected. You have this incredible atmosphere and this best-in-class bunker exploration, but the way the narrative concludes feels completely separated from the journey. I've seen pretty much every way this story wraps up, and I will be honest, there are 6 endings and they are all a wreck. No important questions were answered. And remember me mentioning how non-linear this game is? Well, the big mystery behind it all was solved in, I don't know, the first 5 hours by accident by saying the right things to the NPC, and the next 10 hours I was just hoping to get answers to other questions, but I got none. All the endings are essentially the same and I do not feel like my decisions impacted the world around me. I will give you a minor spoiler warning here in case you haven't tried the game yet. By the end of the game, we still do not know who we are, what our agenda is, and who the voice on the phone is. 5 out of 6 characters for the game ending will try their best to hide the answers from you. They will either brush off your questions or say that the answers are out of your league. You were presented a suspense that came with you hand in hand for the whole game, and you decided to leave all those questions unanswered? How dare you? So at first, I was confused, but by the end of playing this game, I was still confused. And my girlfriend, who I forced to watch the endings, is now also confused. Atomfall is pretty and plays well, but is very clunky. It is a wait for the sale special. It is a cool, unique experience, but let's be blunt, it is not worth its money. This is a AAA price for a solid AA game. At full price, the mystery and the Braindead AI left a bit too much of a bitter aftertaste, which is exactly why I'm skipping the DLCs for now. Plus, after buying the Deluxe Edition, I realized that one of them DLCs is not included in the bundle, so be careful. If I just saved you 70 euros and if you enjoy the games that are a bit broken but still weirdly worth it, subscribe. I'm working on a deep dive into why we are all so addicted to these post-apocalyptic survival games, so don't miss that. And as always, I will see you later, guys.